Yeah, hello guys. Welcome to the channel. Today I have the great honor to invite Tywon Hubbard, straight from the US. So, Tywon, welcome to the channel, guy.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me on. It's a pleasure to be here to talk about molecular hygiene with you.
Amazing. So I have
Yeah,
some questions for you.
cool. Let's do it.
Yeah, just drop in. I'm gonna drop them all on you. See what you got for me.
Go ahead.
First of all, of course, we want to know a little bit about yourself, who you are, your background. I know that's an interesting one,
Yeah.
and maybe that will lead us into the molecular hydrogen.
Okay. Yeah, sure,
So,
man.
yeah,
So first things first, my name is Tywon Hubbard, and as he already said, I am the CEO of H2Hub LLC, which is a hydrogen company here in the United States, and I'm also the creator and founder of H2minutes, which is a YouTube channel on YouTube. So you can find more information there. But how I got there is quite an interesting story. So what I did prior to molecular hydrogen therapy as a career was I was a football player. And I strived to make it to the NFL, and I was really close to achieving my goals. You can probably see back here, I got some football pictures. I got some big old rings. So I did really well at football, but hydrogen kind of really intersected. Me and hydrogen intersected through my wife's cousin. This was over a decade ago. So I've been in this industry for 10 years. But what ended up happening was I got introduced to alkaline ionized water. And I basically started consuming that water, and I had some benefits from my training and my recovery. And long story short, I wanted to figure it out. So I started to dive in, and I ended up getting a tip from a close friend of mine that I should look at molecular hydrogen. So then I did that, and I started researching molecular hydrogen, and I started typing in, molecular hydrogen diabetes, PubMed online. I just started looking up medical publications, and what I found was astonishing. There was just article after article after article, and I started reading medical publications on hydrogen. And before I knew it, I read a lot of articles. I mean, a lot. And so I became utterly convinced that molecular hydrogen therapy is a diamond in the rough, that no one knows about this, but everyone should have it. And so what I started to do is I started to teach about it, and I started to help my my football friends with it. And I started trying to get the word out there while I was still trying to make it to the NFL. And then I end up having the best opportunity of my life. I end up being able to have a private workout with the NFL with all 32 teams in attendance. And so I thought I did it. I crushed the test, and I didn't make it into camp that year. And so I took that as a sign that, like, I had did everything I was supposed to do. I delivered on my part, and my agents weren't able to deliver on their part. So I said, well, maybe this might mean I should pursue this hydrogen more. So that's what I ended up doing. And before I knew it, I had notoriety, and that led to me getting a job offer to work for a hydrogen company in Florida. And in 7 months of me educating and doing what I do best, which is teach about hydrogen, I had multiple different job offers from other companies. And I basically took one that allowed me to have the most say. I was able to own my own company, hydrogen company, with a group of investors. And I did that for about a year and a half. And then I started running my own company, and I never looked back. So that's where H2 Hub came in, and that's where H2minutes started to begin. And I've been doing that now for 8 years or more. So that is my story. That's how I got into molecular hydrogen.
yeah, that's super interesting. I have
Hmm.
also a background in soccer. So
Yeah,
you
got you.
play American football and we
Mhm.
play soccer. It's not so big in Sweden, American football. So,
Oh yeah, I can
but
imagine.
yeah, but it's getting maybe a little bit bigger. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you told us about H2minutes and H2Hub. Can you tell us a little bit about those companies you
Yes.
have?
So as I said, H2minutes is a free educational series on YouTube where I go through and discuss all things molecular hydrogen. So we talk about its properties, its benefits. We talk everything. Everything is research based, so it is all supported by scientific evidence. So I don't really give a whole lot of opinions on H2minutes. I'm trying to bring you the evidence about hydrogen on H2minutes. And we also talk about its associated sciences. So things that are connected to hydrogen water or hydrogen therapy. So for instance, like pH, water, these type of things help you understand um, how that relates with molecular hydrogen dissolved into water, stuff like that. We also do misconceptions as well. So our H2minutes YouTube channel is our way of giving to the world what we didn't have when I started. And so what I didn't have was accurate information when I started for this water. And so I want to help people and I want to help everyone get it. And for them to get it, they need to know the right information about it so they don't reject it or they don't buy into it on wrong pretenses. So that's what H2minutes is all about. People can support my YouTube channel. We have patrons and hydrogen companies that can support the channel. And we've been doing that now, I think, for about 8 years or so. And then H2Hub was birthed out of a necessity. So out of my educating, what happened is when you educate on the subject long enough at the degree that I have done, you start becoming an authority in the space, and people want to know what you're doing, what you're using, and everything else. And so, H2Hub is a consulting company that and an educational company. So, what it basically functions as is we teach people about molecular hydrogen as well on H2Hub, and we consult. People can contact me directly, and we charge a consultant fee, and then we basically help them with hydrogen therapy that way, answer their questions. And then we also, our primary service to the industry is our third-party testing and recommendations. So what we also do is we conduct tests on hydrogen products, basic analysis and tests, and look at these products and see how they stack up against scientific studies or against standards that are set for hydrogen products. And we have our own standards, and then there's other companies that have set standards. So we kind of look at all these things, and then we recommend the products that pass our testing to the public so people can know three things. They can know if the product's safe to use, if the product provides therapeutic levels of hydrogen gas to their body, and if the product has some form of reliability or build quality. So that's why you see all these different products behind me. I mean, I got a lot. We've been receiving products for many years from manufacturers from all around the world and different companies. And so we test them, rip them all apart, look how they work, and then let you know which ones are good and not. So that's what we do at H2Hub. Been able to help consult with sports teams, medical doctors, and even the average consumer. So those are both of my companies and what they're all about.
Yeah, it's super interesting that you received so many products over the years, but you
Yeah.
only have a few on your website that like
Yes.
approves. So it's a lot
Mhm.
of stuff out there that's not good enough.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely. I wish more people knew that because a lot of people get excited about hydrogen, but the first thing they do is they go out and they try to find a cost-effective product. So they go and they find which one's going to be cheap and easy for me to get. So they'll go to Amazon or something without realizing that there's more to hydrogen water than just finding a product that claims it has hydrogen gas in it. And there are many products that don't deliver what you need to be therapeutic for your body.
yeah. And one thing I love about your both sites is the evidence based. It's
Hmm.
that everything should be like based in science, and you never like go an inch out. You just keep the straightforward on the science that
Yes.
I love.
Yes, man.
I
Yeah, no,
appreciate it.
absolutely. Because
Yeah,
it's the reason why, like I was saying, it's birthed out of a necessity. People contacted me about hydrogen therapy and want to know what I use. And I didn't want to help them based simply on my opinion, or else I would just be another health influencer like many of them who says, it's good because I think it's good. And
yeah,
what my thoughts are about something doesn't determine whether it's good or not. Is what does the evidence say about it, independent of my thoughts, it says it's good or not. So that's where H2Hub's testing protocols and stuff came from, is that I wanted to give people advice and point them in the right direction, but I wanted to do it objectively
yeah,
so that they can know and have confidence that, hey, well, this dude's actually did some tests. He's actually looked at it. He has a test report on it. I mean, while it seems like there's every indication this product would be a good one to invest in. So it's really, really important to not move an
Yeah.
inch.
Yeah. And that I think everyone appreciate that also. So it's important.
For sure.
Um, I was thinking about molecular hydrogen. Can you
Mhm.
tell us a little about what it is in your own words?
Yes. So molecular hydrogen is also known as hydrogen gas. And it's simply the gaseous form of hydrogen. It's two hydrogen atoms bonded together and it forms a gas. So that's what molecular hydrogen or hydrogen gas is. It's different, has different little properties or characteristics. It's a colorless, odorless, tasteless gas. It's also flammable at concentrations of 4 to 75% in the presence of oxygen, but it's flammable in the presence of ambient air, the atmosphere, in about 18 to 59%. And you really need to understand, because this is one of the most important properties of molecular hydrogen, is that it is the lightest and smallest gas in the universe. It is unfathomably small. And so because of that, it can have very unique benefits for our bodies because of its small size and because of its neutral charge.
Yeah, it's super interesting. It's small but
Mhm.
mighty. You have a
Small but
t-shirt on
mighty,
that.
man. It's the
Yeah, and
mightiest.
I wonder what makes you so passionate about this molecule.
Yeah, so I guess there's a couple things. So the first thing I would say is that my passion originates from a place of wanting to make an impact on others in this world. And so this is what I was playing football for. You know, some people play football for the love of the game. I mean, I did love playing football, but what I played football was more than just love of the game. I wanted to accomplish a lot, and basically bless my family, bless my neighbor, and get a platform where I can do both really well, you know? And when you're playing in the National Football League, you get that platform where you can do that. And so that's really what was at the driver for me. And then when I found molecular hydrogen and I saw that, wait a minute, there's more than one way to bless your neighbor. I couldn't think of anything better after I read all these articles to give and to give and actually make an impact on the world. Stimulate Hearts because its benefits are just so expansive. I've never seen anything have this broad of a scope to benefit humans and the human body. Its potential is really, really, really amazing. And so um, because of that, I'll give you some basic facts of its potential. So you guys might have heard this, you might not, especially if you're going to be watching this for the first time. But what you need to understand is that currently, right now, there are more than 2,000 scientific publications worldwide on molecular hydrogen therapy, showing that it benefits more than 170 human disease models. And we don't even have a recent count. We don't. It could be as high as 200, right? But 170 human disease models, um, and with more than 170 human preclinical and clinical trials, and it has no damaging effects so far. It's like, what? This is these are facts. These are not things based on my opinions. You know what I'm saying? This is scientific evidence pointing to this. And when you know that something can have this type of scope of benefits, then it's like I gotta help everyone with it. It's pretty remarkable to actually see something like this, to find something like this.
Yeah. Yeah, it's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
You can wrap your head around it. It's
Yeah,
almost
no,
too good to be
yeah,
true.
no,
True.
yeah, no. That's yeah. I say that quite often. Like,
Yeah.
man, I'm gonna talk to them about hydrogen therapy, but the biggest challenge is going to be convincing them that it's actually real.
Yeah.
You know, when you tell them that it has, you know, that it's virtually therapeutic, they have scientific evidence that it's therapeutic for every organ in your body, then you're like, what? Every organ? 170 human diseases? What? I mean, most people don't even know that there is that many
Oh,
diseases.
true, true.
Hmm.
There's new diseases coming every day, and hydrogen probably
Yes.
will fix that too. It'll help with it.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, but I was thinking about what benefit or effect or property makes you the most excited when you think about H2.
Yeah, so typically most people mention um, these three or four benefits when they talk about hydrogen. So the first thing they're going to talk about is antioxidant-like effects. talk about its anti-inflammatory effects. They might talk about its cellular death effects, or they might talk about how it might benefit our energy. And these are very distinctive and broad range. If you can be an effective antioxidant, you can be an agent that can benefit inflammation. You can affect a lot of things in the body, even cellular death. You can affect a lot of things in the body. But what most people don't realize is what I just said, is that molecular hydrogen has too many benefits to really count. We could have a whole 45-minute conversation of just listing the benefits. So what I decided to do, since I know I was going to be on here, is I wanted to really drive this point home about how amazing molecular hydrogen's potential benefits are. So all the things that I'm about to list are based on the scientific study. So I have research that supports every single one of these claims. And so I'm going to go down the list, and bear with me because it's about 50 benefits that I'm going to list for you guys. All right.
Let's do it.
So let's do it. So let's go ahead. So I'm just start reading. So molecular hydrogen can accelerate wound healing. So they've seen in scientific literature that it can actually increase the rate of healing by 3 times faster than normal. And it can activate and regulate stem cells. It acts as an exercise mimetic, meaning that it can activate certain benefits and pathways in our body, similar to exercise does. Has anti-aging effects, anti-arthritic effects, anti-cancer effects, anti-diabetic effects, anti-heart disease effects, anti-obesity effects, anti-inflammatory effects, antioxidant effects, can decrease lactic acid or lactate levels in the body, can decrease muscle fatigue, can enhance blood-brain barrier function, can enhance or regulate fluid homeostasis in the body and mitigate dehydration stress, can improve aerobic capacity or lung function, improves autoimmune diseases, improves blood flow or circulation, improves blood pressure, improves cognitive function, improves dialysis, improves erectile dysfunction, improves fertility, improves gut dysbiosis, improves gut flora composition, so altering the gut ratio of the aerobic bacteria and the anaerobic bacteria. It can improve long and short distance running performance. It improves metabolism and cellular metabolism. It improves muscle endurance and muscle function. It improves recovery after strokes. It improves the redox status of the cell, meaning the antioxidant and free radical ratios in the cell. It improves that. It improves sleep for non-REM sleep and REM sleep, and sleep latency, meaning how fast we fall asleep. So it can, by actually regulating sleep regions in the brain, it improves eye disorders. It improves psoriasis or skin disorders. It increases ATP production, increases body's antioxidant levels, and then mitigates hearing loss, neuroprotective, prevents hangovers, protects the body from sepsis, protects DNA and RNA, protective agent to prevent diseases, promotes mitochondrial biogenesis, which basically means making more mitochondria, radioprotective, reduces cholesterol, reduces edema, reduces the occurrence of kidney stones, reduces pain, acute and chronic, regulates the endocrine system or our hormones, such as ghrelin, leptin, adiponectin, fibroblasts, estrogen, testosterone, cortisol, insulin, prolactin, progesterone, oxytocin, etc. Regulates neurotransmitters such as glutamate, GABA, dopamine, serotonin, and acetylcholine, etc., and supports the immune system. So I don't know if you know one thing or not that can benefit with that many things, but molecular hydrogen has good research to support that it can potentially benefit with that many things. And that's just scratching the surface.
Yeah, it's hard to pick a favorite there.
Yeah, I was about to say my favorite is all of them.
Yeah, let's take all 50, but it's more. So
yes.
yeah, I was thinking when you research about H2, it's always saying that it has antioxidant effect, right?
Uh-huh.
But they always say also even AI, the know-it-all, all-seeing
Mm-hmm.
eye,
Mm-hmm.
so is that saying always saying that it's a is an antioxidant and
Hmm.
has the same and is the same when it's like donating electrons
Oh yeah.
to neutralize
Hmm.
the free radicals. But is that actually the right how it does
Yeah.
it?
So that would be inaccurate. Hydrogen does not act as a conventional antioxidant, meaning it does not go into a cellular system and then donates its electrons similar to something like vitamin C. So vitamin C, when it goes into a cell or being used, it obviously has the cell can use it in multiple different ways. But one of the primary functions of vitamin C is that it can donate its electrons to neutralize free radicals. And in doing so, it becomes a pro-oxidant itself. It becomes a damaging molecule itself. Um, Molecular hydrogen doesn't work that way. There was initial research that demonstrated that molecular hydrogen can neutralize the hydroxyl radical by donating its electrons. So basically, in other words, it will react with this molecule, the hydroxyl radical, and because it does so, it'll convert it into water. And so this was initially presented because basically in a cell-free system without cells present and like a vial, hydrogen will do this. But when they actually started looking at what molecular hydrogen is doing within a cell and trying to navigate or trying to investigate its antioxidant functions, it was way more complicated than what they might have thought. It's not just doing this. Uh, and what they actually found out is that molecular hydrogen antioxidant-like effects. This is why I say it's antioxidant-like effects. Um, it is basically being able to regulate the antioxidant system of the cell. So while vitamin C might go in and actually do, be in a conventional antioxidant and neutralize one or two or whatever free radicals by donating its electrons and being a free radical scavenger, hydrogen is actually telling the cell or regulating the cell's whole system, the cellular system. So it does this through the NRF2 pathway, and they found out that it's not just that, it can actually suppress or reduce the actual reactions that produce the free radicals in the first place. So, for example, if you can prevent the cell from making a lot of hydroxyl radicals in the first place, then you can actually have an antioxidant-like effect, right? Reducing the free radicals in the cell and prevent oxidative stress, prevent the damage that happens to cells. And so hydrogen is seemingly to do this in, regulating the antioxidant system in several different ways. And it's really impressive when you actually start to look at hydrogen versus other conventional antioxidants. Um, it is I mean, there's even studies that show that it outperforms vitamin C and vitamin E, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah, so everyone knows about vitamin C, but no one knows about H2.
No one knows about H2, but everybody knows about vitamin C. Hopefully one
Yeah.
day we can get hydrogen as
Yeah.
popular as vitamin C.
Yeah. I was thinking about also because the molecular hydrogen, it's not a lot of it in the atmosphere, right?
Correct. There's
So how
really,
do we
really
get it
low
into the
percentage.
body?
Yeah, there's really low percentage of in the atmosphere. Makes it about a millionth, like a millionth of what our atmosphere is. So it's very, very low levels.
Yeah.
Um, so you get it in several different ways. The primary ways of getting it is you can produce hydrogen gas and dissolve it into water. You can breathe hydrogen gas by breathing it, like inhaling hydrogen. These are what some of these systems I have behind me. These are inhalation systems that produce hydrogen gas. There's also multiple different ways of producing hydrogen-rich water. So the primary two is breathing and drinking the water. There's other means by like taking a hydrogen bath or something like that where you can soak in it, but those are a little less common.
Yeah, that's nice. So can you
Mhm.
break down how you make hydrogen water and what are some important things to have in mind? I think about dissolved, therapeutic dose, choice of
Uh-huh.
technology, etc.
Yeah, so let's go ahead and go over some of that. So
Yeah.
there are probably three main ways that you're going to be able to produce hydrogen-rich water, or that you'll see in the market that is the means behind or a method of producing hydrogen-rich water. One would be water electrolysis. And water electrolysis is basically decomposing water into its natural elements by using electricity. So water's natural elements is hydrogen gas, and oxygen. And so when you decompose water using electricity, you can produce hydrogen gas and produce quite a bit of it. And so that's probably the most popular way of making hydrogen water is through water electrolysis. And there's different forms of water electrolysis. So you can get into some of that stuff if you want to. And then next would be with alkaline earth metals. And so alkaline earth metals would be like magnesium or calcium, actual elemental forms, the metallic forms of these minerals basically will naturally react with water and produce hydrogen gas. And so what you'll see is that, from different products such as, hydrogen tablets, they'll use elemental magnesium to produce hydrogen gas. So you can throw a tablet in water and it'll produce hydrogen gas, and you'll see it instantly start reacting and produce hydrogen gas. And then the next one would be bubbling hydrogen gas into water. So you can just take a hydrogen generator and you can bubble it into the water and just stick it in. You take a tube, take a diffusion stone, like something like this, like one of these little diffusion stones, and then you can put that and funnel the gas through a tube and then bubble it into water. And those are the three main ways that hydrogen gas is put into water or produced, or I should say hydrogen water is produced in these three main ways.
Nice.
Yeah.
And how about the therapeutic dose there in water? What to
Yeah,
think about?
yeah. So I guess before I even go there, I guess I should talk about product type too. So
Yeah.
there are several different product types that are on the market. They use these different technologies to produce hydrogen water. And the first one would be HIMs. They're called hydrogen infusion machines. These devices will be typically some type of countertop or portable hydrogen water bottle, something like this. They basically utilize water electrolysis using a PEM membrane, proton exchange membrane. It's a form of water electrolysis with this special membrane that will allow you to produce hydrogen gas without altering the pH of the water or any of those kind of things. So these is they're really popular on the market, HIMs. Next would be alkaline water ionizers. They typically use a ionic membrane. They use a different form of water electrolysis. And they're typically a little less consistent at producing hydrogen gas and dissolving it into water. And then the last probably would be, let me see, the last, oh, no, it was not the last. The next would be portable hydrogen water bottles. So these are what I just pointed to. These are these little handheld bottles. They're a version or they're really under the category of HIM machines, but some of them use alkaline water technology or ionizer technology. And then you have hydrogen tablets. That's another one, or sachets. So hydrogen tablets are the elemental the little magnesium-based tablets you can put in water. And then sachets are typically these little sachets that you can see. Some companies will sell them. They're in like these little cloth sachets that you can put into water, and they have a reactant compound in it that reacts with water and then produces hydrogen gas. That's another one. And then lastly would be hydrogen injection technologies. And so hydrogen injection technology is basically injecting hydrogen into the water under high pressure. And this is pretty much, they're more rare on the market, really hard to find injection technologies, but they're out there. And so these will be the common product types for hydrogen water that are on the market that people can see readily, but just by going to Google or something along those lines. So yeah, so that would be the technology. Now, when it comes to therapeutic dose, so what constitutes or what makes hydrogen water therapeutic for us? Because just because hydrogen's in it doesn't mean, just because hydrogen gas is in it doesn't mean it's going to be therapeutic. So what they've seen from the scientific literature is that the hydrogen water has to contain a concentration of hydrogen gas in it from anywhere between 0.5 upwards 0.5 ppm or milligrams per liter. They both mean the same thing. So if you don't know what that means, parts per million, it's just a way of us. It's like a unit of measurement so that we can know what the concentration of something is when dissolved into water. So milligram per liter is the same thing. It's a unit of measurement. ppm and milligram per liter mean the same thing. I like using milligram per liter, and I'll explain why in a second. So the research basically suggests that we need a dissolved hydrogen gas concentration in the water of 0.5 milligrams per liter or ppm to upwards of 10 milligrams per liter or ppm of dissolved hydrogen gas within the water. That's what the water needs to be therapeutic. But they also administer anywhere between 500 milliliters or 16 ounces of water to about 2 liters of water per day at these concentrations. And so this is what this these two things, the concentration and the volume, will dictate how therapeutic the water is for us. And so when you look at the research, you'll actually see that they're looking at the concentration and the volume, and then they will tell you the actual dose. So if you know how this works, the dose is actually the concentration and the volume. You multiply them by each other, and then it'll equal the milligrams of hydrogen in your body. So a way of thinking about this is, I'll just make it simple for you. It'd be like this. If you have a let's say you had a liter of water, and it had a dissolved hydrogen concentration of 1 ppm, 1 milligram per liter. If you drink that 1 liter of water, you would have ingested 1 milligram of hydrogen gas into your body. So that would be a therapeutic dose of hydrogen that you just received to your body. And the same thing, if you had 2 milligrams per liter or 2 ppm in 1 liter of water, if you consume that 1 liter of water, you would have ingested 2 milligrams of hydrogen in your body. So the scientific literature is saying that we need at least 1 to 3 milligrams of H2 or more per day to receive the therapeutic benefits of hydrogen to your body. And I tell people that you should get 1 to 3 milligrams or more. You should strive for the high side rather than the low side. So if you can get a product or something along those lines that's going to get you easily, 2 milligrams or 3 milligrams in a day, 4 or 5 milligrams of hydrogen gas in a day, that's going to be better than getting a product that's barely getting you 1 milligram of hydrogen gas. And it's all based on the concentration and the volume of water that you're drinking.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to inhalation, it's a little bit different there because it's more about the flow and the you don't think milligrams per liter then, right?
No. So hydrogen water and hydrogen inhalation, although you're administering both of them involve hydrogen gas, because of the way you administer it, is going to have different, trying to think of not the big word to use. The big word they use is pharmacokinetics, but you don't need to actually talk about pharmacokinetics because of the route that you give it to the body, is going to affect the actual dose or the levels that you need to give it. So a way of thinking about it is like this. When we breathe, we exchange a lot of air, right? Every day. So pretty much when I take in a breath, I just inhaled 500 milliliters of air. And then when I breathe back out, I just expelled about 500 milliliters. So that's a whole liter. So now think about, I just did a liter in about four seconds of breathing in and out. And when we come to water, you can't drink a liter of water that fast in 4 seconds. And you can't do that every second. So there's far more gas being exchanged in our body than there is water being put into our bodies. And because of that, the amount of gas you have to supply with hydrogen by breathing is going to be quite different than the amount of gas you can dissolve into a thing of water and give to our bodies that way. It's a smaller amount of water. Smaller amount of gas that's dissolved into the water. So for instance, when we're breathing in 24 hours, typically, we're going to exchange about 13,000 liters of air in 24 hours. 13,000 liters. That's a huge number, right? That's a lot of liters of air in 24 hours. But when hydrogen water, if you have, let's say, I'm going to reach back here. Let's say, this bottle right here. You see this bottle? This is 500 milliliters.
Yeah.
If you dissolve hydrogen gas into this bottle and it was full to the top and you dissolved it to 1.6 ppm or milligrams per liter, if you convert the concentration into the volume into milliliters, there's only 19.4 milliliters of hydrogen gas dissolved into the water to make a 1.6 ppm milligram per liter concentration. milliliters to 13,000 liters in it. So you got to supply way more hydrogen via inhalation to benefit us than you would for hydrogen water. And so what they've seen in scientific literature is that a 1 to 4% concentration is what they typically use. And it provides therapeutic levels of hydrogen to our body when we breathe. And so basically to know what the concentration is or how that works is basically for an average male, a 1 to 4% concentration would be 50 milliliters per minute to 200 milliliters per minute while we're breathing. So if you can supply 50 to 200 milliliters per minute for an average male through like a nasal cannula or something like that, well, typically it's not a nasal cannula. They actually have it quite different in studies sometimes. So, because they actually have less losses. So you're always going to lose hydrogen gas to the atmosphere. It's too light. It likes the air. It's going to leave. So, what ends up happening is basically, if you probably want to supply more than 200 milliliters per minute, that's going to be better to make sure you're going to get enough hydrogen while you're breathing to benefit your body. But it's basically a 1 to 4% concentration or more is what they're using in the scientific literature that shows to benefit our bodies via breathing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Super
So
nice.
yeah. Oh, and I would guess I should say this too. As one other thing I guess I should bring up. When you go out there, you'll see many different systems. Um, from pure hydrogen systems, they're just going to produce pure hydrogen gas, and it's going to funnel it to nasal cannula. So something like this, right? They're going to funnel it to this that you can breathe, and you put it on your nose, and they're going to supply, like I said, typically you're going to see units that have 100 milliliters per minute units, 200 milliliters per minute units, 500, 600 milliliters per minute units, 1,000 milliliters per minute units. So these are have to supply different flow rates. And some of them are going to be pure hydrogen, and other ones are going to be what's called Brown's gas or oxyhydrogen, which is a gas mixture of 66% hydrogen and 33% oxygen. And so that's a whole rabbit hole in and of itself, because there's a misconception that you're going to get quite a bit of oxygen when you're breathing from Brown's gas units, but it's not as high as what most people probably think when you actually look at the numbers. So, but these are the different forms of hydrogen inhalation machines, and those are the levels that they're going to be given to you, and they give it to you at that level to try to ensure you're going to get a therapeutic amount of hydrogen in your body.
Yeah. One question on those Brown's gas versus pure H2. Is
Mm-hmm.
there, why would you choose one or either? Is there any like guidance there?
Yeah, so I would say this, and I'm gonna say it. This is my position. I know there's other people that have different positions, but I'm a pretty hard line research guy. I will not typically step out of bounds from what the scientific studies say. And so there are many studies that administer oxyhydrogen or Brown's gas, 60% H2, 33% O2, and they show good results in scientific studies. But what the studies or researchers call it is high concentration hydrogen inhalation. As we just said, they administer typically 1 to 4%, but now they're administering 66%. So they're talking about it being based on the hydrogen, not the oxygen that's being supplied. So that's one thing, for instance. I do think that there are particular disease models that might benefit from oxyhydrogen having a mixture over, let's say, not over pure H2. So for instance, maybe like if a person had a lung issues, right? They were dealing with, um, you know, uh, getting oxygen within their lungs, maybe like COPD, or if they had COVID or something along those lines, had struggle breathing, then it would make more sense to maybe administer oxyhydrogen because you can give them a little bit more oxygen, but you also can supply the hydrogen that's going to benefit the lungs to allow the oxygen to get where it needs to get, which is into circulation, right? And so there are certain disease models where oxyhydrogen might be a better gas mixture to administer. But by and large, most of the time, you could just administer pure hydrogen to a nasal cannula. And what's going to happen is it's going to mix with the air you're already breathing. So it's just adding hydrogen to the air you're already breathing. So it's somewhat of like a gas mixture anyway. It's already being mixed with air. It's hydrogen plus air. And you don't really need the extra oxygen. Most of us, our O2 saturation, how much oxygen is in our blood, is already at 98%. It's already saturated. It's already full. You're not going to add, another 15% or something to your blood. It's not how it works. You don't have the available hemoglobin and all this other stuff to uptake it, and you're not like in a hyperbaric oxygen chamber where you can increase pressure, dissolve more oxygen into your blood. So most of these oxyhydrogen systems, after you factor in the losses of gas that going out to the atmosphere, or when you exhale, because you're not always inhaling, we basically spend 20 seconds inhaling and about 40 seconds when we breathe. 20 seconds inhaling per minute and 40 seconds exhaling per minute. So every time you're exhaling, that oxygen that you're supplying is being lost. You're not getting it. So people think that because supplies 400, 300 milliliters per minute of oxygen, I'm gonna get all that 300 milliliters of oxygen. No, you're not. You're gonna lose a vast amount of it when you're exhaling. You're not actually gonna get it in you. So because of that, um, uh, it doesn't give you the type of level. So they might, depending on how much oxygen you're supplying, you might get a 1% to 2% increase, but it's not something drastic. So I would say, for the most part, people can just buy a pure H2 inhalation system and be fine. And I do think that there might be certain categories or disease models that oxyhydrogen would be preferable. But ultimately, regardless, either one is a high concentration hydrogen. They're supplying you a high concentration hydrogen, 66% or 99%. And then it mixes down with the air that you're already breathing.
Yeah. That's an interesting thing to have in mind. That
Yes.
because oxyhydrogen is very, very popular.
Yes, it is. And it's pushed by quite a few people, and there's quite a few claims that are out there. But I think what people need to understand is that the research is not yet there. I should say there's a lot of claims being made that doesn't necessarily have the peer review back research for those claims. And so it needs far more data on some of the claims that people are making about Brown's gas and about it being better than pure H2 or better than other forms of breathing and all this other stuff. We need far more clinical data for that. I don't see it in the scientific literature, and I've looked at a lot of it.
Yeah. I was thinking about the water infused into water or breathing. Is there different effects on the body, or should I think about if I have a problem or a disease or something, should I choose one or should I just go with both?
Yeah, so I think based on what the scientific literature right now, we can see that and hydrogen inhalation and hydrogen water, they have a similar yet distinct therapeutic effects. And this is because how they enter the body is different. And so you can get unique benefits from hydrogen water, and you can get unique benefits from hydrogen inhalation that you might not get from each other. So this is why it's best to administer both of them if you can, than to do one over the other, right? And so like a way of thinking about this would be hydrogen water. Let's say hydrogen water. You're gonna get you a thing of hydrogen water. You're gonna drink it. It's gonna go and it's gonna have time to act on your stomach. So it's gonna induce effects at your stomach. It's gonna induce effects. It's gonna go from your stomach right to your intestines. It's gonna induce effects in your intestines, and then it's gonna get into circulation. It's gonna go right up to your liver. It's gonna induce effects in your liver. And it's gonna go right up to your lungs, and it might induce some effects at your lungs, but you're gonna lose about 70% of the hydrogen. You're gonna breathe it out. About 30% of the hydrogen is gonna get funneled around to the rest of your body. So that means that all the organs, your stomach, your intestines, your liver, they all got higher levels of hydrogen than all the other parts of your body, maybe your heart, maybe your brain, all these other different organs. So hydrogen water is not going to be, it's not going to give you, it's not going to have all the same levels in different organs. Now, hydrogen inhalation, for instance, is going to take a direct path into your lungs. And remember, we just said you're administering far more hydrogen gas through inhalation to your body than you are with what you're drinking in water. So because of this, it's going to be able to give you higher levels systemically. So higher levels in your brain, higher levels in your heart, higher levels in your lungs. And because of that, and because of the systemic effect of hydrogen inhalation, it's going to have different therapeutic effects. You can also increase the duration of time. So, for instance, when you consume hydrogen water, basically the hydrogen that you put in, this 19.4 milliliters from this water at 1.6 ppm, when you put it in and you drink it, all that hydrogen, that 19 milliliters of hydrogen, is gonna go into your body, and it's all gonna be breathed back out in about an hour. It's gone. But hydrogen inhalation, you can breathe and you can have higher levels or more hydrogen, what you have from here, and you can breathe for 2 hours. So now you can sustain that duration of time, that exposure time. And so because of these different characteristics of each one, they can have different therapeutic effects. You know, they hit different organs and systems at different times and all this kind of stuff. So I always tell people, if you can, it's best to do both, but it's probably easiest to start with hydrogen water. It's clearly easier to start with hydrogen water because it's so cheap to invest in hydrogen water. It's inexpensive.
Yeah, super nice. And
Mm-hmm.
also, it's pretty new, the knowledge about it. So it's very used to talk about it, the infant
Yeah,
status
yeah,
is
yeah. Uh-huh. It's in
infant
its
infancy.
infancy.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh-huh.
yeah. So I was thinking about, because in Japan, everyone knows about it, a
Mm-hmm.
lot of people, and in
Mm-hmm.
US, it's the pike is like, with all the biohackers and
Yeah,
pushing
yeah,
it,
yeah.
stuff like that. They just like, oh, okay, let's push it. But here in Europe, there's maybe like Czech Republic is pretty big in the industry, all
Mm-hmm.
doctors there and stuff. But in rest of Europe, no one knows about it. Like in Sweden,
Mm-hmm.
no one knows about it. But
Uh-huh.
so now when the hydrogen comes here, we're trying to spread the information, and you want to maybe try a water bottle or anything. Do you have
Mm-hmm.
any advice to the newcomer, to the
Yes.
that's new to this therapy?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So the first thing I would say is to ask good questions and don't immediately reject. And so one of the things that I've experienced a lot with people who are initially exposed to hydrogen therapy, they hear it or whatever, is because they have a level of their, I won't say ignorance. Sometimes that word sounds bad, but they have a level of ignorance or they're unaware. The first thing they do is that instead of asking good questions, they just immediately reject based on the information they already have. And so I would say be intrigued and ask good questions. And if you're actually asking good questions to the right person, you're going to get a good answer. And you'll find out that this molecular hydrogen therapy is not so weird as some people think, or is not such a turnoff to as some people think. So, for instance, a new person comment typically is hydrogen's already dissolved in. I mean, hydrogen's already in water, so it's a scam. Hydrogen water is a scam or whatever because hydrogen's already in water. Who would buy this? This is such an easy debunk thing. Well, yeah, you say that in your ignorance, but if you ask the question, which would be, well, you say hydrogen water, what do you mean by hydrogen? Just a simple question. What do you mean by hydrogen water? Then
Mm.
if you ask the right person, you can say, well, what what I actually mean is I'm talking about a form of hydrogen gas is dissolved into water, and then you can consume it. That's what hydrogen water is. And they said, oh, well, so a gas, so it's not like the hydrogen that's already, it's not H2O. Like, no, 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 no. The gas form of hydrogen dissolved into water that we can drink, that is hydrogen water. Another way of thinking about it is carbonated water. Carbonated water has carbon dioxide gas dissolved into it that you can drink. It gives it the physical characteristics. So it's not so uncommon. And the thing is they just name it what it is. It's carbonated water. That's why they call it carbonation or carbonated water because it has carbon dioxide gas dissolved. Well, it's hydrogen water because it has hydrogen gas dissolved into it. Same as oxygen water because it has oxygen gas dissolved into it. You don't say oxygen water. It's a scam because oxygen's already in water. So no, no, no. You can intuitively know that oxygen water might be talking about there's some form of oxygen that we breathe dissolved into it. Same thing with carbonated water. And so I would say asking good questions is a really good thing for newcomers to do and to be open-minded. They might actually learn a thing or two and see that it's actually maybe something they should be investing in.
Yeah. When you say dissolved into water, is that important or why? Why do you say always
Yes.
dissolved?
So, yes, that's a really good question. So, dissolved hydrogen means basically that the gas is in the form of nanobubbles. It gets dissolved into the water to where it can't escape. So, undissolved hydrogen gas would be hydrogen gas bubbles that you can see. So, so if you're seeing the bubbles, then it's basically what's called a macro bubble. It's not dissolved. It can't get stuck into the water.
Mhm.
And if it's not stuck into the water in some form of a nanobubble, then it can't benefit your body because it's going to float out. And so you need it to be dissolved. And that's what dissolve means. It's dissolved into a form of a nanobubble or a really, really small bubble that can stay in the water, that when you drink it and it goes through your intestinal tract, it can continue to stay in that water until it gets into your blood. And then it can make it to your cells. But if it's not dissolved, then it's basically not therapeutic and it won't get to where it needs to go.
Yeah. Yeah, let's take one fun fact.
Mm-hmm.
How small is it?
Yeah, it is a good one. So molecular hydrogen is really, 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 really small. It is the hydrogen atom is about 25 picometers. And when you put two hydrogen atoms together, you can be about 20 picometers. But if you look at the radius, it's anywhere between basically 50 to 120 picometers wide. So a picometer is a trillionth of a meter. And to kind of wrap your head around this, I've come up with really cool facts. And so one of the ones that I've done as a fun fact is using the hair demonstration. So if you take a strand of hair, any strand of hair, pluck it off, and you hold it up to the light and you look at the width of a single strand of hair, you can fit approximately 3 million hydrogen molecules across the width of a single strand of hair. So that gives you a scope of just how small molecular hydrogen is. It is unfathomably small, break your brain small. And so because of this, it can get anywhere it wants to in your body. There's no barriers. There's nothing that can prevent hydrogen getting to some places. That's why it can diffuse past the blood-brain barrier. It can diffuse right past the intestinal barrier, all the different barriers that are in your body. Hydrogen just goes right through. Has no issues.
No.
It's so small.
Small but mighty.
Small but mighty, man.
Yeah, I need to be patron so I can get that t-shirt.
Yes, yeah. Yeah, I rock it often.
It's nice.
uh
Yeah, I need to read this. So I like this question. You
yes.
you said it to Bob. What's
Hmm.
his surname? Bob Sitter
Bob Centenary.
Settiner, yeah.
Hmm.
So as an H2 advocate and
Uh-huh.
a big name in this field, what is your perspective on the significance of educating people about molecular hydrogen?
Yeah. So I think the primary significance, and as I say, one of the primary significance is this, and is that we need to understand that confused people who are confused, they typically do one or two things. They typically do not act or they typically reject. That's typically what confused people do. So if we don't have proper education, we will never get hydrogen to the masses. So we have to address their confusion. And so giving them inaccurate information only compounds the confusion, doesn't help it. And so this is why I'm so passionate about getting people accurate information on hydrogen because they have accurate information on hydrogen. They can then therefore have confidence when they're talking about it, thinking about it, or even wanting to invest in it. So
Yeah.
what I've had happen to me before is that I've gotten told information about, let's say, alkaline water or alkaline ionized water. I got told information about that, right? And then I got excited about some of that information. Very starting out, I was like, oh, this is amazing stuff, right? And then I found out that a lot of what they said wasn't true. Confidence went from here down in the dirt, right? And now it gives you a bad taste in your mouth because you feel like you got scammed. You feel like you got, hoodwinked. You feel like you got, you know, like the cover pulled over your head, right? Like
Like a
so
tackle before you do a home run.
yeah, right. Like You know what I mean? Like it's terrible. So it's like,
Yeah.
now you say, well, guess what? I write it all off. All of it's written off. There's nothing good about it. People can write it all off. And this is what happens with hydrogen water as well. The people can hear about it. They don't they end up getting excited, and then they find out some information that basically is not true, and then they write it all off. And so this is why it's not just education, it's proper education. This is why H2minutes is so important, because H2minutes is not just trying to tell you, it's not just trying to tell you opinions, it's trying to give you factual information about molecular hydrogen so that you can have confidence about it, not only for yourself, but so that you can actually end up making choices, or and investing in it, or helping someone else when you pass that word. So this is what I think the significance of education is. It enables hydrogen to actually start to gain traction and actually get out there, and people can have confidence about
Yeah. Super important.
it.
So we almost an hour.
Yeah.
It goes fast when you have
Yeah, I
a
know, right?
nice conversation. But do you have any last words to share with the audience, the Swedish audience or the Europeans?
Yeah, man. I would say get on H2 today. Right
Yeah.
now. It's time. It's time is now. There are really good information out here that can help you navigate, whether it's my company uh, or whether it's other authorities in the space that can give you solid information to be able to learn about hydrogen and be able to see its therapeutic potential for us, and then be able to make informed decisions about what you're going to do with hydrogen, whether that's investing in hydrogen water, investing in hydrogen inhalation, whatever else, blah, 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 blah. I would definitely say do not go at this alone. This is not something you should do alone. You should seek advice and help, from individuals like you, right? Who has been learning about molecular hydrogen, who knows this information, who is familiar with it to share it with you accurately. And then I would also add that it's worth your investment. Molecular hydrogen is worth your investment. So, you know, there's just so much around it to benefit you, and there's no damaging effects to it. So it's safe to use. That there's no real hurdles for you to say, I'm going to jump in. Like, I think it's something worth you jumping in, and the cost of it typically is pretty low up front. You don't have to have this. You don't have to pay $10,000 to try hydrogen therapy. Like it's something as cheap as $50 to a couple $100, right? That you can actually invest and try it. And so I definitely would say to the newcomer, the person, try it and see if it works for you. I will say one other thing though. When you try it, you need to know that hydrogen is not something you just drink one little glass and then you're like, where's all the effects? That's just not how hydrogen therapy works. Hydrogen therapy is not an acute therapy. It's not this thing where you just take it one time and you don't have any other type of things. You're just gonna grow wings and fly away like Red Bull. It's not how it works.
No.
Hydrogen therapy is what's called progressive therapy or accumulative therapy. So hydrogen, when you drink it, it regulates cellular systems in your body and tells them to work right? To go towards homeostasis, to perform correctly. It optimizes the body. When you do that and then you breathe it out, it starts to work on that process. And that's a process. It takes time. Same thing with exercise. When you do a bout of exercise, it starts to work on that process. But if you don't do any more bouts of exercise, you lose that continual effect of it working on the body, working on that process. When you drink hydrogen every day, hydrogen water, you do hydrogen inhalation, you breathe it, is working on that process to optimize your body and your cellular systems, your organ systems, right? Like you're working on it. And then typically in the studies, they're pretty much 1 month to about 12 months.
Yeah.
And they typically start seeing really good effects within 3 to 6 weeks
Yeah.
of consuming hydrogen. So that's typically where people can start to expect results. You can start to kind of assess like, oh man, I think I'm really starting to feel something different. This is really good, right? And it doesn't mean that some people won't have initial effects. Some people notice effects within the first week. They say, oh man, I feel like I'm mental clarity or I'm sleeping better. But by and large, most people start noticing significant effects 3 to 6 weeks in.
Yeah, that's one interesting thing about the because I've given like water to people, and they're like, I
Hmm.
don't really know what I feel, and I don't feel anything. And I saw video of you, and you're like, it's not about how you feel. Not always. Like, look at the
Yeah.
evidence, like, and just
Yes.
believe in it
Yes.
because it's so like the evidence is pointing so clearly in that it's the therapeutic um, potential. So
Hmm.
it's I would say like it's 15 times smaller than DNA, right?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
So
Correct.
it's so
And
small, so it works in the like in the background of your
right. Hmm.
inside the smallest part of yourself. You don't feel that part. You don't feel
Yeah. Yeah.
yourself.
You don't feel those
No,
parts at all.
it's not
Right.
always. But those who are mostly like inflamed and sick, they have like those wow effects,
Right.
more significant than if you are like a healthy, living a healthy lifestyle and just want that
Hmm.
little bit longevity boost. And
Right. Longevity.
yeah, it's very important to prevent disease. And
Right.
molecular hydrogen is the perfect molecule for preventing disease, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think that's why even if you're healthy, you should be drinking it
Yeah,
because it's protective effects against diseases on your body and helping the body continue to run optimally. We all exposed to oxidative stress and inflammation, stress on the body, even if you're healthy. Um, and hydrogen can deal with that daily stress so that it doesn't accumulate to things like chronic inflammation, which leads
yeah,
to diseases, right? And so I think whether you're healthy or whether you're sick, you should be on it. But those people who are sick will probably have more of a profound effect because are going to notice it faster just because they're so far away from homeostasis. They're so out of balance that they can detect hydrogen's effects easier because hydrogen is a mild molecule. It's not like something's going to go in there and you're going to be like I said, you're going to just immediately have all these like whatever these wild effects because it's getting at the drivers of disease, those
yeah,
things that drive diseases, things like your mitochondrial messing up, mitochondrial dysfunction, the powerhouse of your cells not producing energy right. When you're not producing energy right, doesn't always necessarily mean you feel it, right? Like some people can start to notice, oh, I feel fatigued, right? But you don't always have this subjective effect, right? And so there's many things in our bodies and processes that we just don't feel. When you eat a blueberry, you're not feeling it reduce free radicals.
no,
You eat blueberries and fruit, you're like, oh,
yeah,
I feel the free radicals going away. Oh, so good for me.
yeah,
Like, no, you don't do that.
no,
So what ends up happening is you eat your blueberries because you know your blueberries are good for you, even if you don't feel the effects of the blueberries.
yeah,
This is the same thing with hydrogen. Same thing when you're eating salmon or like good protein sources. It's like you're going in there, you're like, oh, I can feel all the omega-3 fats, and I can feel all the good protein synthesis happening in me. It's benefiting my body, all is good. But you know that that protein source is better than this protein source. So you eat it because you know it's good for you. Well,
yeah,
this is the same thing with hydrogen. You take hydrogen because you know it's good for you and you can start to discern that it's good for you subjectively over time. But whether or not you feel anything or not doesn't determine whether or not it's good for you or not, right? Like what determines if it's good for you or not is what we discovered about it and how it benefits us independently of what we think about it. Same
yes,
reason why you take blueberries,
yeah,
same reason why you take vitamin C, same reason why it's that's how we ought to think about hydrogen.
yeah, yeah. Nice final words, I think.
Last final words. Thank you so much for having me on. It's always a pleasure to get to talk about molecular hydrogen and help other people with it. It's an honor to be here on your YouTube channel and making this video with you and being able to help help people understand molecular hydrogen.
Yeah, we thank you so much for joining us
Yeah.
and get the opportunity to talk with you. I hope we can maybe get together once more and maybe talk specific
Oh
areas.
yeah.
Maybe that would be
Yeah. I
like
think that'd be really cool. We can
yeah,
kind of dive in about some
yeah,
different topics. We don't
yeah,
know all the information about how hydrogen can reduce inflammation, but there's really cool things about its mechanisms that we could talk about how it's doing it. Just like we got into a little bit of the antioxidant like effect, we get a little deeper waters about how it's regulating the cell and how it's benefiting anti-inflammatory effects, or how it's benefiting inflammation via its anti-inflammatory effects, stuff like that.
Amazing. And how can we find you?
Yeah, so you guys can always find me by going to H2minutes on YouTube. So that's H2minutes with an S on YouTube. No space between the H2 and the minutes. H2minutes on YouTube. You can always find me at my website, h2hub.com. You can contact me through there. You can always email me, and I typically try to respond to pretty much everybody that reaches out to contact me. And then you can do all on our social media platforms as well. So there's H2minutes on Instagram. There's on Facebook. Same thing with H2 Hub. There's H2 Hub on Instagram and Facebook. And so you can follow me on all of our social media platforms as well.
Yeah. And I highly recommend everyone look at your videos on H2minutes. I think I haven't missed one video. So I've done my hours.
Yes. Hey. Well, we're about to drop a huge video on hydrogen water bottles. Don't want to miss it. It's about to be the most probably comprehensive breakdown on hydrogen water bottles in the world. Awesome. So you don't want to miss it.
Yeah. No, I won't miss it. So make sure you subscribe to both me and Tywon. So yeah, we speak soon again, Tywon. Thank you so much. Have a great day now.
Thank you so much, Andres. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.